In this video, I'm going to cover step by step exactly what I would do to make $10,000 a month again if I had to start over. If I had no contacts, if I didn't know anybody, if I didn't have any money, how would I make $10,000 a month again? So just for context, my name is Ravi Abuvala. I'm the founder of Scaling Systems. I've generated over $25 million in sales in just a few short years, and I had zero previous business experience. I actually was going to law school. I dropped out. I was a waiter while I was taking care of my dad. He had stage 4 lung cancer. So I'm not coming from some kind of special or amazing background. And I've seen a few of these videos on YouTube, and I think some of them are pretty good, but I have a unique situation in the sense that not only have I generated tens of millions of dollars online, but I've also worked with well over 1,800 businesses as well, one-on-one, helping them launch and scale their business. So some of the largest names in our industry, we've built marketing systems and helped them scale their business. So I've literally taken hundreds, if not thousands of people, including with my free content, to above $10,000 a month. And this is a little bit different than some of my other videos. If you look at my channel, you're new here. Most of my videos is actually focused more along the lines of people that are already doing $10,000 a month or $50,000 a month or $100,000 a month. I mean, some of our clients are doing $110 million a year, but I kind of want to do a video that was a little bit more focused towards somebody who might be just starting out, because I kind of want it to be valuable to that group of segment that I don't typically talk to. Also, we recently just launched our product called Scaling School, and I'm literally giving away everything that I've learned going from zero to over $25 million in sales online. You can actually check it down in the description below. I'm giving stuff that I used to charge $50,000 for, you're going to get for free whenever you sign up. With that being said, how would I restart if I had to go from zero to $10,000 a month again online? Well, I would probably do it in the same way that I had done it previously. So the way that I see a lot of people doing it now, which I don't know is necessarily the best way to do it, is they go straight to trying to either do e-commerce or they go straight to trying to sell information and education. And here's the issue that I have with those two areas, right? First, with e-commerce, it's very costly. Okay. So you have to invest money into ads for it to really, you to make enough money to be able to leave your job. Like I was trying to leave my waiting job that I was working. So you have to invest money in ads. You typically have to invest money in products, stuff like that. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, you don't have to invest money in product. You can do drop shipping, but drop shipping is kind of a little bit dead. And you have to kind of create what's known as a private brand, which means that in order to actually make money and charge enough on your products to be able to make a living out of it, you need to kind of take control of the entire process end to end, but that costs money, right? And so you could do drop shipping, but it's super razor thin margins. And most of these platforms actually don't like drop shipping anymore. And they're shutting down stores that are doing drop shipping. So I don't think drop shipping is a kind of viable thing if you're just starting out again. And also when I first started, I did try e-commerce. I had no money. I was making $2,000 a month waiting tables. And I literally put myself $3,000 in credit card debt trying to launch e-commerce stores. I remember I used to sell these leggings, and it was a whole funnel with an upsell and a downsell. And I would take these stock photos from these girls online and I would put them in there. And I lost so much money trying to do it. And it was money that I didn't have. And so I'm not knocking e-commerce. I have friends that make $50 million a year doing e-commerce. But if you're talking about just starting out, is that the most effective way to do it? No, because in the beginning, you're kind of you don't have a lot of money, but you have a lot of time. So in my opinion, you should invest that time into learning valuable skills. And when you're doing e-commerce, you're not really learning that many valuable skills that I think translate into building a bigger business. And then the other side of things is people selling information or coaching online. It's hey, let me go show people how to, I don't know, do something. How I'm going to coach you how to be a better man or something along those lines. And so, I think that is a good option and it's definitely can work. But the way that you should think about selling services online is that typically if it's very easy to fulfill, such as coaching, where you're just getting on a call with somebody and telling them something to do, it's typically also very difficult to sell, right? Because nobody wants to do anything on their own. They just want somebody to do it for them, or they just want the immediate results. And so if you're trying to sell this coaching and info product over here, it's really easy for you to fulfill on. And sure, when you close a client, you're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 pure profit, but not a lot of people are going to buy that, especially if you're just starting out. If you don't have a lot of case studies and testimonials and proof, et cetera, et cetera. And going back to what I was saying earlier about skills, it's what skills do you have that someone's going to buy from you? Do you know enough about something in order to sell a coaching or information product for it? And sure, you could sell something for very cheap, just $30, $50, $60, but it kind of goes back to that e-commerce thing in that it's very difficult to kind of break free from what you're trying to do right now, what you're trying to leave, or like get any kind of momentum when you're making like $50 a sale, right? Because in my experience, it takes just as much energy to make a $50 sale as it does to make a $5,000 sale. So I'd rather put, at least in the very beginning, my energy on the $5,000 sale. So we've ruled out e-commerce. We've kind of ruled out in the beginning info and coaching. And that's why I've always been a fan of done-for-you services, right? I got started in the advertising agency world. I launched an advertising agency called Prospect Social. At one point, we had hundreds of clients that were real estate agents in North America. And I'll get into some of the things I did right and wrong there in a little bit. But at one point, it was incredibly successful. I scaled it. I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. My net margin was like 90%. I was living in Medellin, Colombia. I was living in Spain. I just had a whole virtual assistant team that did all the work for me. I was like living the 4-hour work week lifestyle. So in that instance, I had kind of made it. Now, why I left that, I'll do a different video of like why I ended up shutting that thing down, and I didn't really like the 4-hour work week lifestyle, but that was the goal that I had, and I ended up actually hitting it. And what I actually realized was that looking back, I was happy that I had started there before I started kind of showing people what to do, like info, coaching, et cetera, because in scaling that advertising agency to multiple 7 figures a year, I had started to develop a lot of really great skills. I learned how to market, how to do cold email, how to do advertising, both for myself and my clients. I learned how to manage clients. I learned how to deal with upset clients. I learned how to sell people on the phone. I learned how to ascend people, sell people something else later on after they're inside the program. I learned how to get referrals. I learned how to get affiliates. And I also started to build a brand. So I would join these masterminds and these programs with other people trying to start an agency online. And I like joined this program, and then I would post my success in there, or I would just post my lessons inside of there. And slowly people started kind of following me, and I started building this brand. And then I started doing even better than the people that I had bought the program for in the first place, which that's not a knock to them. And that's how it should be, right? You should eventually the student should surpass the master. And that was also what helped me eventually launch what became Scaling with Systems later on, where my first target demographics was agency owners, because I still remember to this day, I was living in Medellin, Colombia, and this guy was like, hey man, you and I both bought this program at the same time like 4 or 5 months ago, and you're making like $250,000 a month, and you're living in Medellin, Colombia, and I'm still haven't hit $10,000 a month. Like, how did you do it? And I was like, oh well, I just got these virtual assistants. I did this cold email thing. I like systemized my back end thing, and like I was like, just give me $5,000. I'll show you how to do it. And he PayPal'd me the money literally that day. I got on a call with him the next day, and I like in a 2-hour call, I showed him everything. He was super ecstatic. And that was like my first taste of the benefit or the pros of the information coaching world, where it is like, wow, here I am over here like begging real estate agents for $1,500 a month to run done for you ads. And like, it was a slog. It was like, trying to get them to do it and blah, blah, blah. And then over here was this like agency owner that just paid me $5,000, PayPal'd it. I gave it to them, and then they were super happy with it. And it just took literally 2 hours of my time, right? So that was like my first taste of that, which is why I eventually transitioned out of the agency done for you stuff. And I went into more of like the coaching space. At one point we were like very pure coaching, but the market's very saturated right now. And so I think that if you're coming out here and you're just saying, hey, here's how you do stuff, I don't think that it's very successful. I've helped my clients optimize their offers, and that's also inside the Scaling School product down below. If you guys want to check it out, I have a full like 4-hour training on how to optimize your offer. But like, I think it should be more of a hybrid offer today, where you're doing a little bit of done for you services and a little bit of coaching. That way it's super leveraged. So you do the stuff for your clients that's really hard for them. Like for us, we optimize the offer for them. We write the video sales letter scripts for them. We write the ads for them, et cetera, et cetera. And then you show them what to do, things that it would be a lot more difficult for you to do for them. So for example, I'm not going to take my client sales calls for them. I'm going to show them everything I've learned about sales, but then we'll listen to the sales call recordings, right? So anyway, I digress a little bit, but that was I started over here with done for you services. And then I eventually was able to, after I had used the skills and the money and the momentum from that done for you services, to eventually launch into what I think is a really great eventuality, which is like the kind of coaching, high ticket space, et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of people are missing that middle gap. Everybody's just going, because all these people running these ads online, like, oh, be a coach today, be a coach today. And once again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. And I'm not even saying that like I know everything and that you should follow what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I have done this, and I have helped literally thousands of people do the exact same thing. And even for my girlfriend, even for my family members that ask me like, how do I do this? I always say the same thing. I say either start working for somebody that's in a done for you agency or done for you services, whatever else it is, or start your own thing, but do it done for you. And I'll give you an example. Like, once again, if I had to start from scratch again, how would I do it? What I would do is I would figure out a service that people that I already know were desperately needing and they were already paying for. Those are two really important things. First of all, desperately needing, and second of all, already paying for. Desperately needing is because it's so much easier to sell something done for you when they are literally dying for it, they need it, than it is for something that, oh, that would be nice to have, right? So a great example would be like, once again, going back to like e-commerce. If I was selling clothes, sure, you could argue people need clothes, but most people already have the clothes that they need. So you were kind of selling them something that's nice to have, versus if you're trying to sell them something that they absolutely need, like say leads, or let's say you're helping them get clients, or you're helping them, they need to lose weight because they're very overweight, or they need to fix their relationship because they feel like it's falling apart. Like, those are needs. There's a few needs that human beings need. And by focusing on that first, you just make your sales 10 times easier. A lot of people try to like get all these sales scripts and pitch decks and all that stuff. And it's so funny how much easier sales becomes when your marketing is on point. And it's funny how much easier marketing becomes when your offer is on point, right? So the first thing was I would find something that people around me already desperately needed. And then the other thing is I would only do things that people were already paying for. So for example, you could argue that somebody might desperately need a life coach, or maybe they desperately need a therapist. The issue with something like life coach or therapy is, although they could arguably desperately need it, are they already paying for it? Because if they're not already paying for it, then instead of convincing somebody, hey, you're already paying this person over here, instead divert those funds that are already leaving your bank account and send them to me. You are now trying to convince them like, hey, you're not spending any money on this right now, but this is why you should spend money on this right now. And that is a much harder battle. That's a much more uphill battle that you have to do, is like, this is why you need to do this thing. And then I'm the person you need to do this thing with, right? So that's why it always makes more sense to literally think of it this way. You're just kind of like diverting funds from over here, your competitors, something else that they're paying for, over here. That's why the software industry is so big, is because a lot of times what software is doing is automating tasks that people are already doing manually, right? So if you're paying, let's say, $60,000 a year for a WordPress developer, or you could come over here and use this software where it's a drag and drop thing for $97 a month, like, obviously you'll use the software. You're already paying that. It's easier. You're going to make money, save money by doing it. And it makes much more sense that way. So for me, I learned how to run ads online. And then I am from a small town in the Panhandle of Florida called Seaside, Florida. It's where the Truman Show was filmed. And everybody there was a real estate agent. Like, literally every single person and their mom was a real estate. That was what you did. You went to high school, you maybe went to college, and you became a real estate agent. And it was because the average home price over there was like $1.5 million. And so it was very easy to make a lot of money. You make one sale there, you're making like $45,000 as a real estate agent. And so I had focused on real estate agents because that was everybody that I knew, and everybody that people that I knew were all real estate agents. And what did real estate agents desperately need? Leads and calls and sales. And what were they already paying for? Leads and calls and sales from inferior products and services like Zillow and Realtor.com, where they would charge like $4,000 a month, lock them in for a 12-month contract, and then give them the same leads they were giving 50 other real estate agents in that same market. And so I came in and I said, hey, we're just $1,500 a month. We're going to guarantee you 100 leads, and you're going to have exclusivity for these leads. Nobody else can get them. We only work with 2 agents per market area, right? So that became so much easier to make a sale. So once you identify what is something that people desperately need and what is something that they're already paying for, then you figure out how to do it. It's not that hard. You can go online, you could buy a course, whatever else it is. I'm not going to spend time talking about that here. Once you figure out how to do it, then you have to go out and get your first clients. And luckily, if you did what I said in the first step and you had only gone after people, you only learned a skill that you knew people personally that had that problem that skill would solve, well, that's the exact place that you start asking people. And here is probably the number one lesson I'll give you in this entire video, is that when I first did it, I didn't do it this way. And I learned how to run ads. And instead of going after people I knew and blah, 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 I just was like, okay, other people were serving medical spas. I'm going to serve medical spas and help them get more patients, because I had never even walked into a medical spa. I knew nothing about medical spas. I didn't even know anybody that had walked into a medical spa, but I just heard other people doing it. So I thought, let me do it. And I was cold emailing, cold calling. I mean, I would literally, I still remember like getting up at 4 a.m. And I would literally from 4 to 6, I would get my list together. together and everything that I was going to, like, who I was going to call and the scripts. And then starting at 6 a.m., I would pick up the phone and I would start dialing people, right? Because I still had to get everything done before I had to go into my dinner shift at 3 p.m. And I never closed anybody, not even a free trial. I couldn't even get people to literally work with me for free because there was no trust. They didn't know who the hell I was. I was randomly cold calling these people. And instead, what finally happened, I was literally at my wit's end and I was talking to my mom. And, I had not really told my family what I was doing because at this time I was supposed to be a lawyer. I told everybody that I was going to go to law school. I had scored in the top 10 percentile of test takers in the nation. And I was kind of embarrassed that I was supposed to be going to law school and instead I was waiting tables at this Italian restaurant making $2,000 a month. So I finally for the first time told my mom what I was doing. And she was like, oh my God, Judy would love you if you were able to help her with this. And I had no idea who Judy was, but it was my mom's friend that was a real estate agent. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Why don't you connect us together? And I still remember it was the first sales meeting I ever had. And I met her in person. I was like the most terrified in the world to go meet her. And she ended up working with me for like 4 or 6 months. I had another client that came in from the girl I was talking to at the time. Her dad was a plastic surgeon. I had another client that came in from a friend of Judy's that she referred over to me. I had another client that came in from a friend of my brother's that referred over to me. And once again, if you're doing done for you services, you're charging, let's say $2,000 a month, something like that. You get 5 clients, you're making $10,000 a month, right? And so for me, I was making literally $2,000 a month working at this Italian restaurant. And then once I had started leveraging my warm network, my friends and family, very quickly I hit my first $10,000 a month. And then I took all of those skills that I started learning, like I said, how to brand yourself, how to market, how to deliver for clients, how to get on sales calls with all these people that kind of trusted me. So they would cut me some slack if I wasn't doing a great job, but I would kind of sharpen my skills a little bit. I took all of that and then I went back out to the colder market. Then I started running ads. Then I started doing cold email and I said, hey, would you be interested in me running your ads for you? You're in a similar market to my client Judy here, and we've helped Judy sell an additional, whatever, let's say $10 million in the last 6 months through our marketing system. And so now it becomes so much more believable and so much more trustworthy because I have Judy, and I used to literally run ads for free for my clients if they would be willing to let me use them as a referral. So I would say, hey, you just pay for ad spend, but I'm going to waive the management fee, and I want to be able to use your phone number anytime I'm going to call, anytime I want a sales call with a real estate agent and they're a little bit skeptical, I'm going to give them your phone number. And as long as you just talk me up about how amazing that I am, I'll run your ads for free. We'll do the management. And I had 3 or 4 clients that I would do that for, and they would just continuously feed me business. Literally every single time I had a sales call, 50% of them would go talk to one of them. They would toss me up and then they would sign the proposal and close the deal. Right. And so that was a very, very simple way to make my first $10,000 a month online. And I actually ended up making a few $100,000 a month doing that. I ended up building a team underneath me. I got these virtual assistants. I stopped helping, I used to do real estate agents and plastic surgeons and med spas and essential oil people and e-commerce businesses. I'd run ads for them too. And it was every time I signed somebody, I had to spend 10 to 15 hours trying to fulfill and figure out what was the marketing message and all this. And then once I actually read the 4-Hour Work Week, once I realized that, okay, if I could productize this service and I could just sell the same thing to the same person, then I could just I could systemize the entire service delivery process. So I stopped working with anybody that was outside of being a real estate agent. And I just I didn't close those other clients off. I just didn't really try to renew them. And they eventually dropped off. And then I started productizing the delivery of the real estate agent service. And so I hired a virtual assistant. Her name was Mel Jane. She's in the Philippines. She's literally been with me. She's my first employee and she's still with me today. And I had her build out the Facebook ad campaign, and we were using ClickFunnels, and they would literally, all we would do, we had this master campaign in our advertising account. It said master real estate homeless campaign, and it had everything already built out inside of it. All that she had to do was input the zip codes that the real estate client sent me on their onboarding form and just change the words in the ads to match that city. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I'm from, like I said, an area called Seaside, Florida, and the zip code's 32459. And so we closed somebody from Seaside, Florida, and what she would do was she would duplicate that master campaign in Facebook ads, and then she would just add in those zip codes 32459 into the Facebook ad campaign, and then she would just change one word in the copy that said, hey, city name. It would say, hey, Seaside, and then she would change one word in the headline that said, get this list of homes between X and X to being whatever the average price of the homes were in that area. So it could be between $500,000 and $1.5 million. And literally in 3 minutes, we would set up an entire advertising campaign. So that was the other thing. Whenever a client started working with us, we we could be up and running within 48 hours, which is what I told them, right? And then kind of to sweeten the deal a little bit, this is what really, really took me to the next level inside the business was as we started delivering for our clients, once again, you think about, okay, how do you already divert funds that your clients are paying somewhere else, you divert them over to you. And so what I had realized was that a lot of my clients were paying for like people to work those leads for them, or their real estate agents were trying to work those leads for them, but they weren't actually working them. And it was kind of affecting my retention of my clients. So I would make $10,000 a month, but then the next month I would lose 2 clients because they weren't seeing results. And so then I'd have to go out and find, and I was like on this, what we like to call the revenue roller coaster. And so eventually I was like, okay, well, how do I keep my clients longer? Well, if I could get them to actually call their leads and actually get on appointments with them and actually close the deals, then they would stay with me longer. Well, how do I get them to do that? Well, I could ask them to call the leads. Like once again, like I said earlier, like an info product or a coaching product, you say, hey, call the leads. But the problem is that they're not going to do it, right? I used to secret shop my clients where they would, at the end of every month, we had a call review or a month review, and they would tell me that, hey, the leads, they didn't answer. I was like, oh, really? The leads didn't answer? They're like, yeah. I was like, okay, but you called them, right? Yeah, my team definitely called them. I was like, okay, if you'd be open to it, I'd love to play for you 5 recordings where I called the leads a day after they had come in, and I asked them, hey, did anybody from X Realty reach out to you? And all 5 of them said nobody ever called them. And so like these brokers I was talking to were like, oh my God, I didn't. But once again, what are they going to do? Are they going to go yell at their entire team, or are they going to fire me because they're not going to get an ROI? So instead of playing this game of like pointing the fingers, like the Spider-Man thing, what I did instead was I said, what if I took that in-house? What if I did the calling and the setting for the leads that were coming in and put them on my client's calendar? So I found a call center to do that for me, and they were $500 a month. They were based out of San Diego. They're called Agentology. I don't think they changed into something else. Like starts with a V, I forget now. But at the time they were called Agentology. I was their largest client because I eventually moved all of my real estate agents. Their typical client was like the single real estate agent. And here I was coming over with like, at the point, probably a few dozen real estate agents and eventually hundreds of them. And they would literally call, email, text the leads 12 times in 5 days and set them on my real estate agent calendar. And they would charge me $500 a month, and I would charge my clients $1,000 more a month. And so I netted $500 extra a month, and my clients started seeing results, so they stayed with me longer. And I was now separating myself from Zillow, Realtor.com, and all these other real estate agencies out there because they were all offering the exact same thing. And when I did that, it was like, I literally went from like a few calls a week to I had to go hire an outbound or like an exterior sales team because we immediately started getting like 30 to 50 sales calls every single week from the ads that we did. And the ads just focused on the main point, which was like, hey, we're not going to give you leads. We're going to give you qualified booked calls on your calendar. I scaled that business, like I said, to multiple 7 figures a year. And unfortunately at the time, I didn't really know much about like exiting businesses, or I didn't know anything about operations. And I came to the point where we had so many employees, so many client success managers, so many clients. And I was kind of like, I was falling out of love with it. And I had done the 4-hour work week thing. I had traveled internationally. And like, I just remember thinking like, wow, I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. And I had achieved what I came out to get. I was financially free. I had enough money. I was like making all of this money, and then I was living in Medellin, Colombia, where I could spend like $2,000 a month. I mean, if we went out and went insane one night and like in crazy dinner, this is 17-course dinner, it'd be like $50, So this huge discrepancy, and I just kind of didn't need money necessarily anymore. And that was when one of my friends had reached out to me. Now my friend, at that time they were just a person that I knew, reached out to me and said, hey, if I pay you some money, can you show me how you scaled your advertising agency? And that was how I started that. And then I realized, wow, this is really great. This is way better than running ads for real estate agents. And that transitioned me into launching and building scaling with systems. And one lesson I have learned, and I tell this to people all the time, the grass is definitely not always greener. So like every business in the beginning is kind of goes through this phase where in the very beginning, it's super hard. Then it becomes like you start getting the groove and things become like pretty easy and fun. But then a lot of people don't have the operational experience to actually manage a team and scale to multiple 7 figures or even 8 figures a year. And so things kind of fall out of love at that point. And then you look at this other idea, the lady in the red dress, you're like, oh, that's way easier, way fun. So I jumped over there and it was great for a while until once again, the same problems started popping up. I had the same issues with clients, et cetera, et cetera. But this time I knew better. This time I knew how to invest in team members. I knew how to invest in masterminds and get people ahead of me and hire people that had been from companies that were way past me. And a lot of times people don't realize this, but the first business you start probably sucks. It's probably a terrible idea, right? The first thing for me was technically e-commerce, right? I had no idea what I was doing. The second business was the advertising agency. The third business became scaling with systems, right? I'm working on a new product that we're going to launch for our clients here in a little bit, but like every level, I'm just learning how to be a little bit better. And so it kind of goes back to the first thing I said in the very beginning, which was sharpening your skills. If I had like trying to go straight from, let's say, nothing to a SaaS product or nothing to, I don't know, info or coaching, I think it would have taken me longer. I think it would have been more difficult, and I don't think I would have learned the skills because there is if I lost every single thing that I had today, 1,000,000%, I would go to done for you work because it's so easy to sell. You just tell people, pay me money and you'll get this end results. I would money back guarantee results, and I would be right back to where I was now, probably in probably a shorter period of time than it took me to do here, because I obviously hopefully had learned all my lessons from it. So hope this was valuable. If you guys liked it, be sure to let me know down below, comment it and let me know if you enjoyed it and any questions that you had. If you do want kind of a roadmap that I've given literally every single step of the way from $0 to $25 million, like I said, you can go down below and join Scaling School, which is you get stuff that people have paid $50,000 for. I included inside of there. I'm inside of there answering questions every day. And so you can go down and check it out. Other than that, hope you guys have an incredible rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.